Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for granting us an exclusive interview today.
You're very welcome.
And a very honor to be here as well, to think and ask you a question. And I would begin with your personal story and your activity as ambassador to Cambodia. And it has been 3 years now.
It has. Giam, Bai Chanam Giam.
Yes, it has been more than 3 years.
Ua Bai Chanam Hai.
Okay. And I think there are a lot of activity you have done and a lot of story you have made. My first question to you is that I forgot to mention that you have been traveling across the country, all provinces.
Yes, I am.
All provinces. So, which one is the most favorite province to you and why?
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to do when I came to Cambodia was visit all the provinces. Because last time when I was in Sok Khmer back in the 1990s, you couldn't go to every province. I could never go to Koh Kong, I could never go up by the border, Prevahia. So I was not able to go everywhere. So this time I wanted to go everywhere. So I'm very happy we were able to do that. In terms of what my favorite province is, you know, my wife is Nyet Krakow. She's from Krakow and Pursat province.
Yeah.
So we went many times to Krakow, maybe 6 or 7 times. And so the people there, I think we feel very close to the people in Krakow. And so I guess that's kind of my sentimental favorite place. But I tell you, in terms of the places I like to go on weekends, I like to go to Kampot. I think it's a very lovely town on the river. And I also like Battambang right now. I think Battambang is a great place for American tourists to go. It's just a very relaxed, very interesting town. So those are my 2 favorite weekend places. But Krakow is my sentimental favorite.
But did you go to Kanamom, for example, Krawai Mountain?
Now, that's a different issue now. In terms of like now, Junabot on Sroksrai out there, I think the whole Cardamoms area is incredibly interesting. The one thing I regret is I wanted to go up by Phnom Samkos, up in western Pursat province, because that's the most remote area of Cambodia right now, and there's a new road there. I think National Road 55 was just finished to the border, so I wanted to go up to see that area. I didn't have the time to do it. But the whole Cardamoms area is very, very interesting for wildlife, for tourists like me, ecotourism, for hiking and camping. And so I went there many times. So.
You also mentioned Kampot.
Right.
So what makes it special to you?
You know what I think is great about, I liked Kampot in the 1990s when I was here too. So I used to go there. That was one of the few places you could go on a weekend. What I think is great about Kampot is the way the town sits beside that river. It's perfectly the way it sits there. And when you stay in the hotels on the river, you can look across the river and there's the mountains behind the river. The sun goes down behind there. Oh, saat, you know, I really like that, to sit on the river. And that river is quite a nice river to swim in too, so I like Kampot.
And I think when tourists come to Cambodia, what they don't forget is to eat the food, very delicious. So what is your most favorite cuisine in Cambodia?
So, you guys know I have a Perahia Khmer, right? I have a Khmer wife.
Yeah.
So we eat Khmer food all the time. Moi Tangai Nyam Khmer, Moi Tangai Nyam Barang. So we eat a lot of Khmer food. So I'll be honest with you, when I came here, my favorite food was this one food called some Law Machu Vietnam. That was my favorite food. Because I really like I like that slightly sour taste. I like the tomatoes and the pineapple in there. So that was my favorite. But I've been here and I've eaten so much Khmer food that I've sort of decided now that I like Num Ban Chok better. Because Num Ban Chok is a really interesting dish too. You know how you put the noodles in the bottom and then the vegetables and then the stew on top and you mix it all together. I think that's a really good dish. So I've decided that's my new favorite Khmer food.
Yeah. You have a Cambodian wife, and you said that your
Cambodian
wife
American wife.
Oh, okay, Cambodian American wife. Sorry, and maybe you will have Cambodian food every day. But what will you miss the most when you travel back to the U.S.? So
Cambodia is a little. Well, I think what I'm going to miss about being back in America is the buzz, because Phnom Penh is a very vibrant, very active city right now. And in its own way, Washington is too, don't get me wrong. But it's not quite the same. So many people live at night, like here on the weekends. The young people ride their motorcycles around, you know. They're out having fun. It's very, very active and very vibrant. And Washington's spread out more. So you don't have that sense of excitement the way you have in Srok Khmer, especially when the weather's nice. When the weather's nice and people are out on the weekends, it has such a great feel to it, Phnom Penh. So that's what I'm going to miss. And you know, by the time I get back to Washington at the end of the month, it's going to be winter there. So you're not so much outside, right? Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We often saw you going to the jungle, and then you went climbing up the mountain of Oral, highest mountain, and we feel that you love the jungle, the forest. Can you explain to us why you climb up Oral Mountain and you went to the forest, Prey Long, for example?
Sure. So when I grew up in Pennsylvania, we went camping all the time. I was what we call Boy Scout. Do you have Boy Scouts in Srok Khmer? I don't know the word in Cambodian, but I've seen them before. So I was a scout.
Yeah, Kayarit.
Kayan Wichin. Kayarit.
Yeah.
So that's when I was a child. That's what I was a Boy Scout, along with my brothers. So all of us were together, and once a month we went camping, year round, even when it was cold. And so now I have my own son. When we got to Cambodia, he was 12. And so he needed activities for him. So we started a scout troop here, American Scout Troop. And we had at first we started, there was only 5 kids at first. But now there's about 15. And we would take them out once during the cool season, starting in October. We take them out once a month, October, November, December, January, February. So 4 or 5 times a year, we would take them out camping. So I really did it because of my son and because I wanted him to learn to be outside just like I learned. And so Cambodia has a lot of interesting places to go outside, but it's not much developed yet. So it's hard to find good spots to camp. But we found a few, and that's why we did Phnom Ural, because I thought it would be a great adventure for the kids. We found a guide. We rode the Golyuns from the highway, Pi Maung, Chi Golyun, you know.
And you walk until the top of the mountain?
And then where the Golyun stops, about, at the bottom of the mountain, then we hiked all the way up. Right, 2 days it took.
2 days.
And then back down, 1 day down.
So you slept in the mountain?
2 nights, Botong, on the side of the mountain. The second night, we were about 3/4 of the way up. And it was about 13 degrees at night,
13.
which is cool weather for Srok Khmer. The Khmer guys are all cold.
So can you describe?
Merakang are like, oh, this is great. So,
can you describe what was your feeling when you climbed up the mountain until the top of the Oral Mountain?
So look, I'm not so young anymore, right? And I wasn't in that good shape back then. Now I'm in better shape.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit concerned that I was going to be able to make it. Because 6,000, it's about 6,000 feet. I think it's 1,800 meters.
Yeah.
So it's not a gigantic mountain, but it's big. I mean, it's a long hike. And so I was afraid I might not make it. And then Kmake, right? The oldest guy can't make it up the mountain, right? That's a bad thing. So I was determined to make it. And I didn't want my son, I didn't want my son to see me not make it either. So that was my concern.
Yeah.
Okay.
But once you get up, Ural's interesting. At the bottom, it's very steep, but then it flattens out towards the top.
Yeah.
It's not so steep. And the forest is very nice up top. They haven't been able to log it, so the trees are still intact. The forest is very lovely up at the top of that mountain.
And back to Prey Long, is it very beautiful over there, the jungle over there?
Prey Long is a little different because it's flat.
Yeah.
And Prey Long has had a lot of logging. There's logging trails that go through that everywhere in Prey Long. And that doesn't mean it's not a good forest. It doesn't mean it's not worth saving, but it's different. And so, and it was hotter then. We went to Prey Long in May. I mean, that was hot, right, at night. And But it's very interesting, and most of the trees, any tree bigger than 60 centimeters in Prey Long has been cut down already, so they're all gone. But there's still a lot of trees, a lot of tree cover, there's a lot of wildlife there still worth saving, so we're happy that we're helping Cambodia, with the rangers up there, we're helping Cambodia enforce the laws up there in Prey Long to help save that forest, and I think it's worth doing.
So talking about your experience in the jungle, do you think Cambodia can develop ecotourism, for example, besides temple in Siem Reap or maybe in Battambang or maybe in Kampong Thom, for example, for the national revenue in the future?
So that's a great question. So for me, Srok Khmer, it's a little bit like it was in Indonesia, when I was in Indonesia, where everyone comes to Cambodia to visit Angkor Wat, right?
Yeah.
Siem Reap. And same way in Indonesia, they all came to visit Bali. Okay, but the Indonesian government developed some secondary tourist destinations you could go. Sumatra, up to Lake Toba or Lake Meninjau, all sorts of places, Sulawesi. Yeah. Jogjakarta, all of them. So I think for Cambodia to focus on those secondary locations, because what you don't want is you want people to spend more than 3 days in Cambodia. You don't want them to go to Thailand and then take 3 days to come to Siem Reap and fly right back out. Yeah. You want them to come to Cambodia for 2 weeks, and part of that be in Siem Reap. So those secondary tourism destinations, to develop those, and that's starting to happen here. Because now Mondulkiri, very interesting, Ratanakiri, Battambang, interesting, down on the coast, Kampot and Kaip, and then in Koh Kong too. Now in terms of ecotourism, there's already 4 good ecotourism projects in Koh Kong. There's already 4, and they're interesting, and they're all well run. And to me, it's a great area for Cambodia to focus on, because that's the biggest remaining forest in Southeast Asia. Right? And mainland Southeast Asia is the cardamoms. And so to make that an area where there's a big ecotourism industry, I think makes a lot of sense. You could get a lot of American tourists to come if you did that.